All right, welcoming into the lounge, it is Chris Parker. He, of course, is the president of the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. Thanks for joining us. And we call it the off season in Nashville, but really nowadays there is always an event to talk about, Chris. And this past year, what an amazing event in the Music City Grand Prix, the inaugural season. Did you expect for it to be as successful as it ended up being?
Well, first off, thanks for having me, and appreciate everybody's attention and coverage to the inaugural Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. Like you said, huge success, I think, by all metrics. Yeah. First year event, always things that can be learned, always things that can be improved upon. But I think judging by the crowds, by the level of enthusiasm, the number of racing series that participated beyond just IndyCar, it was a tremendous success. And we're looking forward to and getting ramped up for year two, August 5th through 7th. So same weekend, different year, and we get ready and we move forward.
What is it about that time of year that you guys seemed to agree that that is, I guess, a good date in terms of attention on the city, attention on that sport?
Yeah, and it's a great question. And I think as busy as Nashville is, as many events as Nashville attracts, its city status, all of those things, you got to have date equity for a temporary street course.
Sure.
You need the time to build all of the infrastructure that goes with that. And it really works for both the city and, of course, for the Titans and the NFL, right? So we're still falling prior to the NFL season.
Yeah.
We're on the tail end of the summertime. That is a nice pocket from the city's perspective, from the CVC's perspective. And so I think collectively we were all able to earmark that date for multiple years as here is a time that works. And then we work with IndyCar to make sure that it fits within their schedule. Luckily, it works for their schedule. And ultimately, we're able to put all the pieces together and formulate an agreement that allows us to bring the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix to Nashville on a three-year contract with options beyond that. Our plan has always been for this to be like Long Beach, like St. Petersburg, like Toronto, something that is around for decades and decades.
We talked about just the turnout for the inaugural race, and I think anybody who came here and experienced it for themselves just had a weekend full of fun, whether that be entertainment, meeting drivers, watching the race.
Yep.
What was the feedback you got just from the average fan that came to this event?
I think, two sort of subsets, right? One, the racing fan, the racing community, people really enjoyed it. It gave them a reason to come to Nashville, and that was a huge success. I also think that there's another subset, and those are all the people who truly looked at it the way we've tried to position it, and that's as a festival, right? Something different, something unique. You don't have to be a huge race fan. Maybe you love music. Maybe you like just hanging out with friends, colleagues, neighbors. You can choose to participate for 1 day or 3 days with our event. And I think that that is the second group of people. And that's the one that ultimately we really want to cultivate and grow. Downtown residents, people in East Nashville, where it's easy to get to. I mean, that's a huge benefit for people in those two communities in particular. What
kind of economic boost do you have or see from an event like this in just a matter of 3 days?
Well, we did over just over 110,000 people over 3 days. The economic impact was about $22 million, and that's direct economic impact. So it's people flying, that's people staying, that's people buying tickets, not just the people who are then going out on Broadway and enjoying themselves. But I mean, that's a huge event. That's kind of analogous to, we just had the women's SEC tournament, kind of analogous to the men's SEC tournament that'll be coming back next year. So it's a huge economic driver for the city. And again, it fits into a really nice window of time for the city's benefit, for the downtown businesses' benefit, and of course for our benefit, race fans and Nissan Stadium.
I think the one thing that I always tell people about Nashville, why it's such a great event city, obviously the people have a lot to do with that, but the way that the city is built around downtown and just the visual appeal of it, I would think for a sport like IndyCar and the kind of setup that you had, visually seeing that is another thing that draws people to it? Because the TV ratings were through the roof.
TV ratings were the best in 23 years on cable. It really does lay out like a postcard. We were very fortunate. The things we can't control, like the weather, right, like the backdrop that has been established with Korean Veterans Bridge, the downtown skyline, all those things make for just a tremendous postcard for Nashville.
Yeah.
And that part, second to none.
Yeah.
The convenience of being able to just walk everywhere, not having to think about or plan for where I'm necessarily going to park my car. I can do it once, and I can then take advantage of the entire weekend. The fact that you can see music and you can enjoy a festival atmosphere, and then also see as much racing as you want, that makes for a very attractive sort of combination.
When it comes to making it even better than the year before, and that's always something that when you look at an event, you always want to get as much feedback and then try to improve upon it, just like anything.
Yep.
So for you guys, looking at the data and looking at all the X's and O's with even the driving part of it and what the drivers had to say, what are some of the things that you guys want to improve upon this next year?
Sure, and you're absolutely right. Constant improvement is sort of the benchmark, the hallmark of any event. You can't ever rest on your laurels. You got to be out there figuring ways to make it better for the people who came last year, and also better for the people who are going to experience it for the first time. We're going to change some of the grandstand capacities. Many of them will be in the same locations because we found that the sight lines were actually really good. The track is staying, generally speaking, the same. We will work to adjust based on IndyCar's direction and advice. Some of the speeds in a few areas. And just some of the visibility that they may have, coming into and going around a corner. But I think the track in and of itself laid out really well and provided the right length. We'll always make adjustments to the fan experience, whether that's the food that we offer, the types of experiences and engagements that they can have in the fan zone, the overall entrance and egress to the property. We'll always look to improve upon those in conjunction with our partners at Nissan Stadium.
You do talk about races like the one at Long Beach and some of these ones that stick out on the IndyCar circuit. But you, I'm assuming, want to make this something that in the future could be an ongoing thing, and Music City could have its own unique race every single year. Is that a possibility?
Without question. That's always been the vision, and I think that it's something that we have built our model upon. We want to be in this market. We want to be a part of the overall summertime landscape for decades to come. So when you think about the arc of summertime in Nashville, you start with CMA Fest in June. You've got the fireworks in July. You've then got the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix in August, and then it dovetails so nicely into the Titans schedule and their season, as well as college and high school football. So, I think that's our hope, and our hope is that we can continue to do things that ensure that we're here for 10, 15, 20 plus years, like a 44-year run in Long Beach or a 25-year run in St. Petersburg. And
finally, I would probably, I'll ask you this, but I would say Nashville is definitely becoming one of those cities that, event-wise, but just sporting events in general, it seems to be a calendar year event. There's something new every single time, whether it be football, basketball, now racing. And with saying that, just bringing racing to the South in any way possible, whether it be NASCAR or IndyCar, is probably a really big thing for the South.
All racing is good for the market. There's no question about it. I think that we recognize that, as do the other folks who are responsible for bringing a NASCAR or an SRX race to town. All racing is a positive. This is a great sports city in general, whether that's basketball. We just saw it with the Stadium Series, the Women's SEC tournament, of course the Titans, of course the Preds, the Sounds. This is a sports city, and I think anything that we can do to establish and to make the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix a benchmark event that occurs every year. People put it on their calendar. They want to make plans to invite friends and neighbors and so forth to all go out to it. That's what we want to do, and that's what we want to focus on. Well,
we appreciate your time today. We look forward to already seeing you guys gear up for another big event this summer. Can't wait.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.